Hey everyone, Xbox One X is due in November, bringing with it brand new titles like Forza Motorsport 7, showcased in all of its 4K 60 frames per second glory last month at E3. Going forward, we should expect to see all Xbox One titles supporting X hardware, and higher resolution is the #1 enhancement we should expect to see, obviously, though developers do have the freedom to use the 6 teraflop GPU however they see fit. But alongside all the new games, a series of older titles are going to see improvements too. Now, we already know about the key releases here. Forza Horizon 3 at native 4K is a lock, and based on the way that the engine scales, a bump up to the PC's ultra settings is likely. Gears of War 4, yup, that's coming too with 4K resolution, along with a bunch of specific enhancements for users of 1080p screens as well. Third parties are getting in on the act too. Skyrim has been confirmed for an upgrade, and bearing in mind that PS4 Pro already plays host to native 4K gameplay, we'll be interested to see what's pulled out of the bag there. Fallout 4, yeah, 1440p on PS4 Pro with enhanced settings, so yeah, we're going to be particularly interested to see how the X copes with that one. After all, there are a ton of 1440p games on Pro, and achieving a leap to full 4K with around 40% of extra GPU power does sound like a tall order. Injustice 2, another title already out on Pro operating at 1440p, and yes, that's been confirmed for an X upgrade as well. Same story for Hitman really. 1440p seems to have been the go-to resolution for plenty of PS4 Pro titles, presumably because it's the easiest fit for the hardware. The question is, of course, to what extent Xbox One X can do better. The list of games set to include X enhancements is growing by the day, and a little while back we put together a list of titles that we thought could really use the additional power of the X hardware to produce a massive improvement over their standard showing on base Xbox One. The good news is that one of these games has just been announced as getting a 4K upgrade, Halo 5. The question is the extent of the upgrade we're going to get. Okay, so here's the thing, Halo 5 on base Xbox One uses dynamic resolution scaling and a big bunch of other tricks to maintain an essentially flawless 60 frames per second frame rate. 343's Frank O'Connor has told us to look to the pared back PC version of the game, Halo 5 Forge, to give us some idea of what the Xbox One X version is going to look like. So that's exactly what we did, and it left us with some unanswered questions. First up, we tried the game using an RX 580 with memory bandwidth overclocks as far as it would go and compute locked to 6 teraflops, just like the Xbox One X. Even on an empty map, 4K 60 was off the cards, so either 343 is doing some tremendous optimization work, or we'll see dynamic scaling or even checkerboarding in place there. Now, we don't expect to see anything other than the locked 60 frames per second. I mean, that is the game's signature. But achieving 2160p is going to be a challenge. After all, there were some pretty low dynamic resolutions in play on base hardware. We also hope that anisotropic filtering and maybe even some texture assets get an upgrade to better suit a 4K display. So with Halo 5 actually announced as the recipient of an X upgrade, obviously attention now turns to the Master Chief Collection, 343's attempts to upgrade and modernize the OG Xbox and Xbox 360 Halo games for Xbox One users. All but one of the games featured in the pack hit native 1080p, the exception being Halo 2 Anniversary Edition, which renders at 1328 by 1080. So in theory, based on Microsoft's claims that the Xbox One X can scale up existing Xbox games to native, true 4K, well, the Master Chief Collection should be a viable candidate for a pretty impressive upgrade. I just have a couple of questions here. First of all, will the existing artwork scale up okay, or do we kind of need some of those 4K assets to really give a decent presentation? And secondly, well, historically there was some glitchy performance in Halo 4. A while back we noted some improvements there, but ideally we would really like to see a flawless 60 frames per second on that one. Also missing from Microsoft's list of announced Xbox One upgrades is Remedy's Quantum Break, and well, we could really used the extra GPU power of the new console to elevate image quality on this one. The original game essentially operates at a native resolution of 720p, using a temporal upscaling technique to give a perceptual pixel count in the 900p range. Sticking to the title's 30 frames per second target, a 6 teraflop PC GPU like the RX 580 could quadruple pixel count there, giving us a 1440p baseline that interpolates up to something that looks similar to 1800p. Now obviously it's not 4K, it's not even a true 1800p, but obviously it's a substantial improvement over what we saw on the standard Xbox One. This title really is a technological showcase and it's often overlooked. The PC version got a lot of heat at launch, well, specifically from us actually, but the DX11 Steam release is excellent and well worth checking out. Scales far beyond the original Xbox One version, and it would be great to see a similar upgrade on the X. And it's for the same reason that we really hope that Namco considers an upgrade for Tekken 7. So there's a kind of established pecking order here for each version of the game. At the bottom of the chain, there's the standard Xbox One at 720p with some settings downgrades. Sitting in the middle of the pack is the PlayStation 4 version at 900p, while the substantially more powerful PS4 Pro still only resolves the title at native 1080p, though there are improvements to texture filtering and post effects. Okay, so Microsoft essentially promises developers that Xbox One X will deliver at least a 4x resolution boost compared to standard hardware. So quickly doing the maths, that suggests that a prospective Tekken upgrade could resolve at 1440p. Now we tried to mirror Pro settings as best as we could in the PC version and tried the 6 teraflop RX 580, and yes, we got 1440p as the most comfortable upgrade path here. 1800p? Yeah, that was off the table. It's actually a really demanding game, and right now to see the title at anything like its best, you need to deploy some pretty hardcore PC kit. It's unlikely that a true 4K presentation would be possible without substantial downgrades, but yeah, Xbox One X would be the top candidate for the best possible console experience. Next up, let's talk Sunset Overdrive. It's one of Microsoft's older platform exclusives, and it's a game that dares to be different. Clearly influenced by Jet Set Radio and Sucker Punch's infamous, its flashy aerial acrobatics and cartoonish gunplay really make it something of an underappreciated gem. Beautiful to look at with the foundations of the same open world technology that the developer is using for its upcoming Spider-Man title on PlayStation 4. You look at the action here and you can only wonder how well it would scale up on the X. Base resolution on the standard Xbox One, 900p, which means that a true native 4K presentation for Xbox One X would be challenging, but not impossible based on the internal Microsoft benchmarks for the hardware that we've seen. However, you look at the 4K temporal jittering technology Insomniac has deployed on both Ratchet & Clank and Spider-Man, and you can't help but think that the same techniques would work just as well on Sunset Overdrive. And in theory, there should be plenty of GPU horsepower left over to deal with some of the less impressive aspects of the original game, including its anti-aliasing and pop-in issues. I mean, both of these problems are sorted in Insomniac's latest games. I guess the question here isn't one of technology, it's more a case of whether Microsoft would be willing to invest more in a title that didn't exactly sell amazingly well. And of course, the question is whether Insomniac itself would want to go back to a title it finished working on years ago. But you know, there is some precedent here. The Witcher 3 is getting on a bit now, and that's due to receive an Xbox One X patch. Based on our experience, it's a game that actually scales up fairly well on PC hardware, and we do stand a pretty good chance of hitting a full 4K here on console equivalent settings or better. News of an Xbox One X upgrade here took us by surprise somewhat, as we never saw the game receive any kind of PlayStation 4 Pro support. But well, there it is. Equally surprising is the announcement of Xbox One X support for id Software's Doom. You're looking at AMD Fury X levels of power here to run this one locked at 4K 60 frames per second on PC. So we'll be fascinated to see how close the developers actually managed to get with Xbox One X. All kind of a matter of conjecture at the moment, because we've actually seen so little real-time software operating on Xbox One X hardware. On the one hand, you look at how well the likes of Gears of War 4 and Forza Horizon 3 run on PC and you kind of think, yeah, possibly we are looking at RX 580 levels of GPU power here. Then you have people with development hardware, people like Studio Wildcard, creators of Ark Survival Evolved, comparing Xbox One X to a more powerful GTX 1070 with 16 gigs of RAM no less, and you think to yourself, well, maybe this is a game changer. Truth is, there's a lot of hype out there, and until we see more software, it's going to be difficult to get a handle on just how powerful this thing actually is. But anyway, that's where I'm going to leave things for now. Let me know in the comments what titles you'd like to see getting an Xbox One X upgrade. But for now, please do like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and of course, remember to follow us on Twitter. But that's all from me though for now. Thanks for watching.